Hi everybody. Here is my two, resources where I'm going to be analyzing the accessibility of. And so my two resources I chose, one was a practice with small whiteboards in class, and another one is a daily guide that I use. Both of these are for my Algebra 2 class. The practice that is currently on the Google Slides, that was like a review of Algebra 1. So this is more so what we did in the beginning of the year, and then I'll talk about the daily guide when we get there. But one is in a slides format, and the other one is a Google Doc. So, honestly, it was pretty eye-opening, like reading both like the Rice chapter and then taking a look at the accessibility like handbook, and then like looking at what I have and realizing that my stuff maybe isn't as accessible as they should be, or what I want them to be. So I kind of like went through and I made like almost like a pro con list, with like pros being like, these are the parts that I have had be accessible in this, and then cons being like what are currently not accessible and what I have and what I could adapt for the future or next year, or what I can adapt for this year. So if I'm taking a look at cons, right? This is a Google Doc, so it doesn't have an outline view, so you can't like go into the view portion or the format portion and kind of see the outline and see the headers and the individual pieces of what I currently have. Another con was that I used a blank slide template instead of one of the predetermined templates that Google Docs provides. And my text, I will say that this current slide, the main slide number 1, like does utilize like the format option, but if you go into like slide 2 and slide 3, like these were all like created text box, and then this equation right there, the y equals -3/4 x plus 5, that was like a screenshot in, and like same with the graph. So if you are trying to use like the tab feature to determine like how it would be like read to a student, if you're looking at slide 1, it would go in the order that I want them to go in. But if you look at like slide 2, it would read like the Pear Deck, and then it would go in like a different order. And since some of these like are images, right, I don't have a description for them in the alt text. So that was another con that I had. Also, in terms of the formulas, right, the formulas, I didn't type them in. Google Doc isn't, not Google Doc, I keep saying that. Google Slides isn't as, I guess, user friendly for typing in equations, and I know that there are add-ons that you can get, and I have actually, looking at, I believe it was in the handbook, I have used the LaTeX equation editor. I have used that before in order to insert equations and stuff. So I can just utilize that a little bit more often. So that way that could help my students. This assignment happened earlier in the school year. As you can see, it currently is in there as a Pear Deck, so if I needed to use this online, I can very easily just use this extension portion, and I can do Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, right? So I can easily just make this that online assignment. The way that I did use it, though, is the students just had to pull this up on their Chromebook or their laptop, whatever their like electronic device was, not their phones. And they had to do it that way. And then in terms of like the graphing ones, because not all of these are graphing, so like the further you get down, like there are some that are non-graphing ones. So the first couple, I actually printed out the graphs for my students, so they had to hand graph them. But if this was in an online setting, right, they can easily draw on the slide for Pear Deck. Now, another way could be like utilizing Cami, but that's not what this is about. This is analyzing what I currently have, right? So those were my pros and cons with the Google Doc as I kind of like made my way through. The color portion, right? If we're looking at color contrast. So yes, I have some color in here, but I don't think that really detracts too much of the like what I'm trying to get across for these students to do. So you can clearly see like the words are in a black text, and that is on a white background. So I don't have that black text like in the color portion, right? Because I think if I had that colored text, like honestly, we could even move it just to like see what that would look like, right? That wouldn't be super legible for someone that is visually impaired. So I did make sure that everything, like even for students that are not visually impaired, right, that it is clear what the task they should be doing is. And then let's kind of analyze my daily guide. So the daily guide, that is, I use this for all three of my preps. So I use this for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And it looks the same for all of them. I just chose Algebra 2. So what a daily guide is it's for me, it's also for my students. So it's for me to kind of see, it's for me to plan out the chapter, right? What we're doing in class, what that activity is. It's for students to also see what we're going to be doing if they want to look ahead. It provides them with important information. So maybe they because I notice that my students don't tend to use like an agenda or like a homework book or anything. So it includes like important information for them that maybe they didn't note that was written on my whiteboard. It also, if they're absent, they are able to kind of go to this and they can watch. This is the In Case You Missed It videos. And it is a video of like going through the notes, so that way they can add it into their learning logs, and their learning logs is just like a composition notebook. So that's what this daily guide is, right? So let's kind of analyze the accessibility of it. So again, I kind of split it into pros and cons. So if we are looking at like, maybe let's start with the cons, right? So if we're looking at the cons, I have a like title, right? This Algebra 2 daily guide, but it's not in like the header format. So when I go and I clicked on, I think it was view, this tabs and outline sidebar. When I went and I clicked that, the Algebra 2 daily guide didn't pop up because I honestly took this text and I just made it bigger and I bolded it and underlined it. I have it written, as you can kind of see up here, I have it as a normal text. Like I didn't make it into that header style. So that's something that I can fix for all three of my daily guides. Another con that I have is that if you kind of like scroll, like if we kind of take a look maybe at this important info or right here, like I don't necessarily like have lists. I mean, I guess I do have lists, but they're not like using the bullets that are predetermined in Google Docs right up here. Like they're not like the check marks, they're not like these other types of bullets. I just hit the dash and like I allowed Google Docs to like format that for me. So I guess that could be pro/con, I don't know, because it's still using the Google Doc formatting, but it's not using like what they have up above. If we go into some pros, so I have a ton of links in here. Most of them have descriptions of what they are, right? So this is what my students did today, Thursday, September 25th, right? They did a small whiteboard practice, which was actually really similar to the Google slide that I showed you before. And they can click it and it will bring them right to like those practice problems, right? This brings them into the activity for introducing like rebound ratio. So again, they can kind of see and they can get a little preview of what that assignment is. However, if you go to the in case you missed it videos, it just has like YouTube links. So I think something that I have a pro, right? Some of them have descriptions for the links, but then I have a con because I don't have that for all my links. So like my hyperlink for my in case you missed it videos, like maybe like I could be a little bit more descriptive there, and I could be writing maybe like the first video could be exponent rules, and then I hyperlink the YouTube video, and then the next one would be exponent rules examples, and then I hyperlink that video. Same with like the ones down here, right? This one would have been, one of them would have been like arithmetic sequences and then hyperlink, so on and so forth. So that is something that I could go through and I could fix that. If we're taking a look at color, they're really like color contrast, right? There wasn't really, there's not really color here. I did bold things, underline things. I have highlighted things in the past before, like using the highlight feature. So that does add some color, just to kind of emphasize things. I don't tend to highlight that often, mainly just due dates, but I don't have that in this daily guide. I believe I do. Actually, I have it right down here. Wow. Okay. So I had it here, just to emphasize. So, it doesn't, I don't believe it detracts that much, from what I'm trying to, get my students to understand. But I think the bolding is what I tend to lean more towards compared to putting things in color in terms of like the font color. So like I said in the very beginning, I think that this was really eye-opening in terms of the fact that I don't have things as accessible as I would like them to be. And so that is something that I need to take into consideration, like moving forward when I create things like a daily guide or when I create practices and stuff like that. So using that accessibility handbook will definitely be like beneficial moving forward. So I hope you all kind of had like the same eye-opening experience that I had. And I can't wait to see your resources and what you kind of discovered.